Good evening. We are so excited to come to you again. We are delighted at Hope to be able to share with you these virtual events, an evening with Hope. But most of all, we thank you for welcoming us into your homes. My name is Kristen D. Cavers. I'm on the admissions staff at Hope, and we're so excited to join with members of our campus ministries staff tonight and some of our amazing students who are involved in campus ministries to share a bit about their experiences with you. So just a little preview of how this night will go. First of all, if you have been on our events before, or if this is your first one, you'll notice on the right-hand side of your screen as you're on our YouTube channel, that there's a chat box, and in that you can type any questions that you have as our speakers are talking. I'll try and work in questions as we go, but if I'm not able to, we'll have plenty of time at the end to be able to speak to your questions. So with that, just a preview of what we'll be doing. We're going to start off with our Dean of the Chapel, the Reverend Dr. Trigby Johnson, then transition to some time with our students, some time with some of our chaplain staff, and then, as I said, we'll all come back together for a little question and answer time before we close it for the night. We'd like to respect your time. We have managed to keep most of these within an hour. So with that, we'd really like to get started. So first up, as I shared, we'd like to welcome the Reverend Dr. Trigby Johnson. He is our Dean of the Chapel, big man on campus. So Trigby, you want to take it away?
Yeah, welcome everyone. It's wonderful to be invited into this conversation and to officially introduce myself. So as Kristen said, my name is Trigby Johnson. If you see that, it's spelled Trygve. And I serve as the Dean of the Chapel, which is basically another way of saying I'm one of the pastors on Hope's campus that works with a whole team of pastors. And I've been at Hope for 16 years. I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest, but I have rooted my life and my family in Holland, Michigan, which I love. And mostly because I absolutely love Hope College. I love the mission that we have. I love our ministry. I love the people we work with. And one of the great joys of my life, honors of my life, is that I get to be in a space where I get to walk with you for an important season of your life, a season when you're making decisions about your vocation and about relationships and about your faith. All of those things are really at the intersection of my deep joys and loves. And so it's really a great honor to officially introduce myself, but also to spend some time with you tonight, and hoping we can answer some questions that you might have, as well as give you a snapshot, a picture of what your life at Hope might be like.
That's great. Thanks so much. So why don't we get started, Trigby, just with a little bit of background on the mission of campus ministries at Hope and how that might be unique in the landscape of student experiences, and how you're really preparing students for the real world, what they're going to hit after Hope.
Yeah, we have a phrase in our office that kind of encapsulates our mission called growing world Christians in the soil of hope. And what we mean by that is we want to be a ministry that is involved in nurturing and growing your life. And so an important metaphor for us is Psalm 1. They shall be like trees planted by streams of water. I want to imagine your life rooted at Hope College, where you can put deep roots down, but at the same time, while you're rooted, you can also have aspirations for something large in your life. And we want to create a context where you can do that as a holistic person, not just intellectually, academically, yes, that, but also relationally, also spiritually. We're a place that doesn't necessarily believe that there's anything called a spiritual life, because all of life is spiritual. So we want to create a context where you're growing deeply in who God has called you to be. And at the same time, we want you to do that as what we call a world Christian. And what we mean by that is we take literally the statement in the Gospel of John that God loves the world. And we want to prepare you to be a leader in this world God loves. We think that God has called and commissioned each one of you to be agents, who are bringing reconciliation and love and light into this world. And so we want to prepare you for real life. We want to prepare you for a faith that's going to be able to step out from Hope College into the real world, where you are going to be able to do that with a great sense of confidence in who you are, who you belong to, and a deep sense of your purpose that Hope College, the entire community, has helped prepare you for. And we want to do that growing world Christians in the soil of hope, like in our place. Hope is a very unique college, and it is unique because of the people there, because of the other students that you will be around. But this context of this 4 years is really, really important. And so our team, along with all other people, are very committed to creating a space for you where you can grow deeply, you can grow taller, you can go thicker in your imagination and your reason, but above all, you can grow in your love for God. And so our mission is really trying to create that kind of relational context with you and with your friends and your professors and your coaches and your RDs, everyone. But at the bottom line of our mission is we want you to know and love God, because we think that when you know and love God, you are going to know and love yourself and your neighbor in this world in a much more deeper and committed way.
Yeah, and there's so many ways that Campus Ministries comes alongside students and walks with them, no matter where they're at in their faith journey, because students come to us at a variety of points, right, in their faith walks. And can you talk a little bit about how Campus Ministries, both you and the broader staff, really comes alongside students and meets them in that place?
Yeah, our team is really committed primarily to relationships, and we don't think that there's any one size fits all a cookie cutter approach. Everyone's coming from a different place. Everyone's got some different experiences. And so what we want to do is meet you where you're at, and at the same time begin to overhear how God has been working in your life, is working in your life, and most importantly, where God might be calling you to do. And so we do that through kind of three primary ways in our office. A worship life, what we call gathering together. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday night, we provide a context of worship that is really a special and remarkable place through the student leaders, who you'll meet some of them tonight. One of our chaplains, Bruce Benedict, but just creates a very intimate and vibrant context for worship. So worship is really important to us, and nurturing our relationship and our life with God. At the same time, we also want to create a context where you're being nurtured in discipleship. So you'll meet tonight Jill Nelson and Jennifer Ryden, two of our chaplains who are just some of the best in the country at what they do. And what we want to do in discipleship is introduce you to scripture and how to read it, how to pray, how to have a conversation about faith in a way that isn't strange or weird, that is just kind of normal. We want to do that through being pastors and spiritual direction, meeting with you for coffee. A lot of our work is simply just spending time with students, with you, hopefully. We're really hoping that next fall we get to see each other, not through Zoom, but through, face-to-face time together on campus. So and then the final way is through missions. We want to be a people who are sent out into the world. So we provide opportunities for what we call immersion trips over spring break, connecting with opportunities on Hope's campus as well as in the local community, where you can put your faith into action. We want hands and feet to be moving forward and serving those around us. And so those kind of three areas, gathering together, nurturing together, and being sent together, are kind of the three primary ways that we try to help form people to live into the kingdom, to be world Christians in the soil of hope.
I'm going to touch on that very first one, that gathering together, because you have a new space on campus
Yes.
where you gather and where we gather. So talk a little bit about your new digs.
Yeah, so this last year we opened what's called the Andel House, which is a Dutch word for the House of Hope. And it's at the center of our campus. And it was designed with really three things in mind. One, we wanted it to have a sense of invitation, so that when you see it, there's a big sweeping front porch with the rocking chairs out. We just want that to be a place where you can be. It's designed so that it could be a home away from home, which is why we call it a house. It's not a ministry center. It's not no, we want this to be a place for you where you can come and get some coffee or hot chocolate. You can just sit and read. There's a fireplace surrounded by the great books of the world, where you can either do homework, you can write, you can be in a conversation. But this is also where our chaplain staff is. It is one place, full seriousness. That's the second thing. We want this to be a space that is interesting to you, that you would want to spend time. And then third, we wanted it to have a sense of place, so that where it's located, the center of our campus overlooks what we call the Pine Grove, which is really the heart of Hope College's campus. Right next to it is what's called the Boltman Student Center. It looks out onto Dimnit Chapel, to Graves Hall, these iconic Hope College buildings. And so we wanted to create an atmosphere where the ministry is just flowing right into the history, to our aspirations, as well as a place where you can come and just be yourself. You don't need an appointment with a chaplain to be there. We just want this to be a place where you can hang out, spend time, and be together. So we were really thrilled last August to open it. And so when you come, it'll still be a really brand new building. And we really are hoping that you're going to find your way there, and we can sit on the porch together in a rocking chair and have a great conversation.
And a great cup of coffee too.
Yeah, that's the rule for us. We only have great coffee. There's only a couple of reasons you get fired, but if we don't have good coffee, that's one of them.
Great coffee, that's for sure. Well, thanks so much, Trygve. We sure appreciate you kicking us off tonight. We will invite you back a little bit later on. But right now, we're going to start bringing in some of our students. So thanks again. So as I said before, Hope students get involved in campus ministries in a variety of ways, and really at a variety of different stages in their time at Hope. So we'd like to welcome 3 of our students now tonight, and I'm so excited to see you all. So excited. It's been a while since I have, so it's so great to see your smiles and hear your voices. Anna, why don't you get us started? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm muted. Hopefully this is better. Thank you, Kristen. I'm very excited to be here virtually with you all tonight. My name is Anna. As Kristen said, I'm a senior this year at Hope, so my time is dwindling down in my last week of classes and exams next week. And it's a very, very bittersweet thing. Hope has just been such a blessing, and I'm definitely sad to see it go, but I'm excited to see where I'll be headed next. So I'll be graduating with a Bachelor of Arts Music major and a minor in worship leadership in the ministry branch of that. So that's been really awesome to be educated in that. But then I've also done various things, obviously campus ministries, which I'll talk more in a little bit about that. But I've also been an RA on campus, residential assistant, and also had an honor to be a director for Dance Marathon this year, which is super exciting.
That's great. Thanks so much, Anna.
Yeah.
So now we are going to bring in Jared. Jared, you want to take it away?
Hello. Yeah, thanks, Kristen. My name's Jared. I'm a junior at Hope. I'm studying business as my major, minoring in chemistry. Some things I'm involved with at Hope. I'm on the track team, and I'm also pretty heavily involved with campus ministries. So yeah, and that's been one of the great things, is not being involved like with ministry major, minor, but still being able to dip my toes into the ministry program here at Hope. So yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, last but not least, we are bringing in Miss Liv. Hello.
Hi.
Take it away, dear.
My name is Livia Mott. I am currently a junior at Hope College, so heading into senior year pretty shortly, which is very nerve-wracking, but really exciting for a lot of reasons. And I'm double majoring in religion and English with a minor in worship arts. So some things that I'm also involved in are just Hope College worship team pretty heavily, and then have also had my opportunities to work with admissions, which I just love dearly. It's been such a blessing being at Hope, and am also a worship arts intern for a local church, Calvary Christian Reformed Church in Holland. So that's it.
That's great. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
So we're going to start just by hearing again from each of you about the things that you're involved in campus ministries and how that involvement has really impacted your faith journey during your time at Hope. As most of you are also approaching kind of the end stages of that in different ways. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your involvement and how that has impacted your faith journey. So Anna, you want to get us started?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have kind of been involved in various things throughout my 4 years at Hope. I started out freshman year, I did a Bible study, also called small groups. And so I was put in a group of girls, and we were all put together based upon the time that we were available, that we filled out in this form. And then we got together each week at our leader's house, and we read scripture together. And it was really cool because it brought together people that I didn't know that were in different majors and different career paths, and that I probably wouldn't have crossed paths with unless it was for that Bible study. So that was a really cool opportunity. That first kind of got my toes wet in campus ministries. Throughout my years, I've also, as Trigby was saying earlier, I've met with various chaplains, and that's been really influential in many seasons of my life, whether that is through good times or hardships. They have been there to mentor me and guide me through those times. They really give you the space to kind of ask hard questions. And if you're ever doubting things with faith or walking through and wrestling with some struggles that you're facing, they're there to help you kind of figure out what you're feeling and where to take that, which was really beneficial. And lastly, my most favorite thing is I have had the pleasure to be on worship teams. So we have 3 worship teams, which all 3 of us are actually on those. And I'm sure I can speak for each of us, but it's such an awesome experience. And something that has truthfully been a dream of mine since I was in high school. And I had the pleasure of being one of our team leaders of the 3 this semester or this year. And so I play keys and sing the lead for my team. So it's been awesome.
All right, Jared.
Yeah, so like Anna said, I'm also on the worship team at Hope, but I would say there are other things that have really allowed me to grow a lot in my faith at Hope that campus ministries have offered. I remember coming on freshman year, and with the help of campus ministries, I was able to get involved with Young Life, which is a high school Christian outreach program for high school students. And that was great to be able to go through my training in the campus ministries house and kind of see chaplains walking in and out. And one of the things that stuck out to me was the first day I moved onto campus, moving all my stuff into my dorm room, and one of the chaplains comes in and gives me his card and it's like, let's get coffee. And I think that really speaks volumes to what the staff here, what their goals are for outreach to the students. Is they want to meet us where they're at. They want to buy us coffee. They want to pour into us all that they can, and all that we're willing to take. So that was really encouraging for me coming right onto campus. And then outside of that, one of my favorite things that campus ministries puts on is men's night out. I've been able to go to that the past few years, and that's basically a guys' night where everyone comes, they get pizza. We go to Lake Geneva, which is like a summer camp right on Lake Michigan, right on the shore. And we just kind of talk about life and what it means to be a Christian man in today's, environment. So just conversations like that are things that I definitely take for granted now that I've been here for a while. But something that campus ministries really just fosters an environment where conversations about faith and belief and, things like that are so open on Hope's campus. And so I think that's been the thing that I've been most thankful for. Outside of that, I would say chapel is the best thing during my week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 10:30 to 10:50, 20 minutes, no class during that time. You come in, you take a break from your exam that you're worried about or the homework that you're going to have to do later today, and you can just be present and worship. And that's makes a whole lot of the difference during the week, and especially during like stressful times in the semester when you got exams and tests and projects and things like that. So just like campus ministries as a whole has been so good to me in that it's allowed me to grow in my just like passion for God. And it's not like here's some rules that you need to do. It's like how like this is like God is this thing that we can't even understand that just loves us so much. And growing in that love the past three years at Hope is probably the greatest thing that I've gotten here.
Jared, I want you to go back down memory lane a bit, because there's probably, like for us at Hope, grabbing a cup of coffee with someone is really normal, right? Like that's every other day. But for some people that might be watching tonight and are getting introduced to Hope for the first time, they might not know that as so normal. So tell us, what was that first coffee meeting like when you went out to coffee with a chaplain that gave you his card or her card? What was that like?
Kind of weird at first. I was hesitant. I was hesitant to reach out for sure, just because, I don't know this guy. I don't know what's, but it ended up being really good. We went to LJ's, which is the coffee shop, like a block off campus, and told me he just asked me about my life, basically asked me what are your aspirations? What are your expectations at Hope? And just like, how is your semester going? I didn't contact him until like halfway through the semester. So, but he asked me how I was. And I think that's one of the best things you can do is, given that space to just let people tell others how they're doing.
Yeah. Thanks. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Liv, what about you? Things that you're involved in campus ministries and how that's really impacted your faith journey.
Yeah, so I think upon coming in as a freshman, I just wanted to get involved right away. And that's a huge piece of advice for all of you incoming freshmen, is just get involved in everything and in anything that you can, because that's how the easiest friendships and form of community happens. And so I was a part of various Bible studies on campus, and then even off campus. So Hope Campus Ministries does a great job with partnering with a lot of local churches in the area, and they'll put on a lot of events for college students. Pillar Church right on the block next to admissions across the street, they'll do like Pillar College luncheons, and they invite you right in with open arms, regardless of where you're at in your faith. And so that was a big aspect of me in getting involved. My sophomore year, I joined the worship team, and I'm still on it, planning to be on it for senior year as well. And so I'm a vocalist and a keys player. Just being a part of the team has been one of the most tremendous blessings during my time at Hope. It's introduced me to an entirely new definition of community and mentorship and friendship, in the sense that it allowed me to have a community that felt safe to confide in and wrestle with all of the hard questions and the joys and all of the tribulations that come with college life. So I think, of course, my faith has been impacted in regard to growing willingly, never out of force. Jared touched a little bit on this, but everything at Hope, it's completely voluntary. And so it's neat that it was never something required of us, the chapels or the Sunday night gathering services, but that we were always welcomed into spaces of faith and encouraging environments to learn and to desire more. And so in regard to my faith, it became an implementation of my daily life, just very naturally and organically. And I just feel still to this day really thankful that I had constant mentors and friendships that were provided to me just in support of growing within that. I think I also had the, hi, I'm a chaplain here at Hope, here's my card, let's get coffee conversation. And I think it was actually Trigby, who was on earlier. It was him who did that for me, and we had a conversation over chess. And it wasn't even in regard to my faith or where I was at, but it was just getting to know me. I felt so genuinely loved and cared for as a student, and that's huge right off the bat. I guarantee you that that will happen to probably each of you that end up coming to Hope. So very, very thankful. Still bad at chess. I gotta learn.
Well, I know there's so many other things that each of you has been involved in. You've touched a little bit on some of them and some of the other things that Campus Ministries helps organize for students. So, Anna, do you want to spend some time talking about church partnerships and Hope Catholics and some of the other programs like Delight that you've been involved in?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Liv kind of touched on, there are so many churches in the area that are some in walking distance, some are a short drive away, that kind of partner up with Hope. So usually in the fall, we do this series and they'll actually bring in different pastors and priests from around the area of churches that will actually talk in chapel. So they kind of just tell you what church they're from, what they're about, and then they'll preach on the scripture that day, which is a really cool opportunity for them to kind of come to get to see the students, but then for us to see them. So they really, like Liv said, open you with welcome arms and love to see the Hope community come. So I know Pillar Church loves having Hope students. St. Francis, one of the Catholic churches around, loves having Hope students. And there's so many more of all different denominations. So I am a Catholic student and I've been a practicing Catholic all of my life. And there's actually about 22% of students on campus are Catholic, which is a really awesome thing. And so they do a lot of opportunities for Catholic students as well. So they'll do on-campus mass Sunday nights at 5. And I've gone to that a handful of times, but because I am involved with worship teams, I'm usually not able to go because it's the same time as our services. Of when we would practice for our service for the gathering. But that's an awesome experience. Father Nick is partnered with St. Francis, and so he is willing to meet with students. We also have Carly McShane, who also does a great job of meeting and mentoring students. And so those are two individuals that are outside of campus ministries, but still really heavily involved and willing to meet with students, whether they're Catholic or not. One of our good friends who I've had the privilege of knowing, she actually became Catholic this last year. And so she's been walking alongside them a lot and just kind of navigating that and what that would look like. And they'll also do other events, bring in speakers to speak on things. And that is in regards to all things in campus ministries. So the church partnerships are great. They provide a lot of different things for Catholic students. And then Kristen mentioned something called Delight Ministries. So that's something that I did mostly my freshman and sophomore year. And it was a group of girls that got together every Friday morning at 7 a.m. So that was honestly the thing that would keep me from going because it was early and I'm not a morning person. But let me tell you, when I got my butt out of bed, it was so worth it. So we would go to Mao Cottage, and cottages on campus are just houses that are an on-campus house, but they call them cottages. And so it's a smaller group of people, usually between 5 to 12 people would be about the average. And so the girls that lived in Mao Cottage would open up their basement Fridays at 7 a.m. to welcome any and all girls who wanted to come and participate. And they would have different topics that they talk about each week, whether that's relating to faith or maybe it's about body image or finding friends or relationships, kind of all different topics that are really crucial at this point in your life. And they would go off of readings. There's a bigger group of Delight that gives you readings to read and then discuss as a group. And I remember specifically one time my freshman year, I was just going through a really hard time in life. And Thursday night, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to Delight tomorrow. Like, I don't really want to, but like, I'm going to go. And the topic that day was about vulnerability. And I was really struggling with not really opening up to a lot of friends of struggles I was going through. I was in a lot of credits, and so I was pretty overwhelmed with school and just kind of down in the dumps and not doing well. But I am not one to often talk about my feelings or how I'm actually doing with people. But the whole topic was about vulnerability, and that honestly was such a game changer for me. And I shared with a whole group of girls that I never had met before. really all the struggles, and I'm crying in front of them and just being genuine and real. And that really kind of taught me the first step of being vulnerable, and something that I've carried with me to this day and still try to practice. And it really changed it. I had girls that would reach out to me and say, hey, can we get coffee? Like, I want to talk with you and I want to help you through this. And people would pray over me and pray for me. So it's just an awesome group of girls to get together and rely on. And they'll do other things too on the weekends. They'll do pancake breakfasts, lots of different things, but just an awesome thing. So the only thing was that it was so early, but it was absolutely worth it.
And that's so important that you find those ways to really find your place and find your fit. And
Yeah.
it doesn't always happen on the first date. And like Liv said earlier, you have to say yes. You
Mhm.
have to get involved. You have to say yes, and you have to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Liv, you've shared a lot about your involvement and things that you've done to grow personally, but there's also a lot to what you're doing that's helping you grow professionally too. You want to talk a little bit about how some of the things that you've been involved in have prepared you for a career in ministry, and maybe touch on, we actually had a question about connecting to mentors. So you've touched on mentors a bit too. So maybe just talk about how that's played into your professional career path.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think in pursuing ministry, I've been fortunate enough, I think all of us on the team really have, to have the kind of exposure to the numerous opportunities provided to us. And so my involvement as a wildlife leader and being an intern, sort of like a camp counselor for one of Hope's programs called Awakening, stewarding high school students and kind of their pursuing of worship arts, which has been really neat. Attending songwriting workshops and meaningful discussions with people like Zach Hicks and Sandra McCracken, and even teaching Sunday school for a year at Pillar Church each Sunday to gain credit for an academic field placement. All of those experiences have just taught me so much about leadership development, introducing me into the community of Holland. So furthermore, allowing it to feel even more like home. I've been thankful to help lead worship at numerous churches, such as in Getty and Maple Avenue, Pillar for the duration of freshman and sophomore year, and will be returning for senior year. And then to be an intern at Calvary Christian Reformed Church this past year. And so even leading at places like Camp Geneva, a little bit away from Hope, but I think interning and leading worship at Calvary for the duration of my junior year allowed me to establish connections with even more people outside of Hope, which is great in my wanting to pursue ministry. I mean, I was attending to Melanie Penn, who is a very well-known and skillful and gifted musician and songwriter, leading Wednesday night worship for our church's youth nights. I think there's just been an incredible multitude of opportunities to kind of help me prepare for all of this, for a profession in ministry. And I think the mentorships are huge. With every experience, it seems like I've gained a mentor within that. And so even through the ministry department, having people like Pam Van Putten and my professor, Andy McCoy, who is more than supportive and involved in kind of my aspirations to do ministry. Even with future opportunities, having exposure to a recording studio in the process of writing and recording and producing Hope's albums, that's furthermore helping me in my journey to pursue an education in audio engineering and acoustical consulting upon graduating Hope. And so I just feel really thankful and confident moving forward in that I do have so many wonderful mentors to kind of guide me in and further develop my faith. And just in establishing professional connections very early on is huge for a student. I'm honestly very certain that I wouldn't be receiving the same sort of opportunities and encouraging community and such stewardship and experiences if having gone anywhere else.
And, as we kind of look toward Jared to talk a bit more about Young Life, and you all have in your own ways, but he's become that mentor for some youth in our area. So Jared, do you want to take it away and talk a little bit more about Young Life?
Yeah, totally. So when you come onto Hope's campus, There's a big activities fair, and you can look at all these different clubs and organizations that you are interested in getting involved with. And for me, Young Life was something that I immediately was drawn to, because this is so cute. My parents met and they were Young Life leaders in college. So that's, I'm like, I'll do that. No, just kidding. Different reasons. But being able to just go give them my email, and then you go through this thing called new leader training. So I talked about it a little bit earlier, but you basically go to the campus ministries house, and they kind of basically disciple you for a few months, and train you to be a great Young Life leader. So what that looks like as a college student, being a leader, is going to schools. A lot of the times, people will go like during lunches, so they'll go to the lunchroom. I a lot of the times go before school, so we hand out like candy before school, hold doors open. And then just other things like that, going to all the high school athletic events and things like that, and trying to be mentors to high school students. And that's something that's been huge for me in my faith walk, of like the next step. So yeah, here's the good news. Now, what do you do with it? You go and share it with others. And even looking at the chaplains and how they do their work with college students has kind of given me a lot of inspiration for the way that I seek out high school students. And it's been so impactful. And that's just another source of community for me, a group where I can be vulnerable, ask the tough questions, and just have a support system around me. So there's summer camps in the summer too, so Young Life camps, and I got to go to upstate Minnesota. It's called Castaway Club, the camp, with 10 of my Young Life guys last summer, and that was just an amazing experience. You get away, no phones, there's no service up there, so you're just hanging out with your boys, and having a great time. And yeah, like I said, I've learned a lot about that mentorship and discipleship, and not only learning how to connect with people who are just starting their faith journey, but also learning from those people from their experiences, and different perspectives on spirituality and God and life and things like that. So that's been a really cool opportunity. There's also, so they just started Young Life College at Hope. So it's a similar thing. College students are still leaders, but the people that they're seeking to disciple are actually Hope students. So they have Young Life clubs on Tuesday nights, and that's in the student center, and they'll always have free food, and that's something that gets people coming. And then they'll play games, and then a few people will give club talks, which are essentially like a 5 to 10 minute sermon, but not quite as regimented as a sermon. Just kind of a story of how they're connecting with God in that moment. So yeah, Young Life, it does a bunch of great things in the Holland community, and I'm really thankful to be a part of it.
No, lots of people are thankful you're a part of it too, Jared. So thanks guys so much. We're going to bring you back a little bit later. But now we're going to transition to some of those people who have been those mentors for you, or those coffee dates here and there. So we have 3 members of our chaplain staff that'll be joining us. We're really excited. I mean, at Hope, I consider us really fortunate to have as many chaplains as we do. So 3 that are joining us tonight, we have Jennifer, Matt, and Jill, and we're going to start off with Jennifer here. You want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, Jennifer, and what you do at Campus Ministries?
Sure. Hi. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Jennifer Ryden, and I'm a pastor within the Reformed Church of America here in Holland. And this is my 2nd year that I have been the chaplain of discipleship at Hope College. So
Awesome.
I'm so glad to be here.
Thanks, Jennifer. Next up, we've got Matt. Matt, would you like to take it away?
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks for having me. I'm Matt Margarone. I'm the chaplain of athletics here at Hope College. I'm a Chicago area kid originally, grew up in the Naperville area, came to Hope College in the late 90s, played soccer, ended up being a coach for a little while. I left and I worked for Young Life for 10 years, what Jared was just talking about. I was a director of Young Life, loved that. And now I get to serve and walk alongside athletes and coaches, specifically here at Hope, as well as a lot of us chaplains get to speak at those regular weekly services, chapel and the gathering, and share our stories with students as well. So I also, just on the side, I am the advisor for the Ski and Snowboard Club. If you didn't know, we have a Ski and Snowboard Club, which is pretty cool. And I get to go on trips with them. And I'm involved in a leadership class as well. So it's fun.
Great. Awesome. All right, Jill. We have you, Jill. All right. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, guys. My name is Jill Nelson, and I'm really happy to be here too. This is my second year at Hope. I am another chaplain. My title is chaplain of small groups, and so my main responsibility and privilege is to offer small group Bible studies across Hope's campus. We usually have about 60 leaders who co-lead, and they lead about 30 groups throughout campus, and it's a great opportunity. I went to Hope. I'm a 95 grad. I loved it then, and I love it now.
So true. So, we've heard a little bit from Trigby and now from our students about how they really felt campus ministry staff coming alongside of them. So do you want to talk a little bit more about how each of you comes alongside students, both at the first stages of their college years all the way through to the end? Jennifer, you want to get us started?
Sure. Yeah, as Trigby said, I mean, college is it's an extraordinary 4 years, and it's such a pivotal time, I think, in just your development as a person and as a person of faith. And so I just feel deeply honored to walk with freshmen all the way up to seniors. And I'm a chaplain of discipleship. And so I often think about that as I'm someone who just wants to meet students wherever they are on the path of Christ. And so that means that I get to meet with students who don't come from a faith background, who maybe never read the Bible, and we get to crack open the Bible and talk about this really strange and wonderful book. And then I get to walk with students who've maybe been Christian all their life, grew up in the church, and now have come to Hope, and they're doing some deep thinking and deep learning, and so have questions, and everywhere in between. And so I'm always amazed that students reach out to me. They'll see me in chapel, they'll see me on campus and say, hey, can we meet? And I'm so delighted by that, because it takes a lot of courage sometimes to do that. And then sometimes I'm out meeting students or passing out my card, or I'll just harass someone into having coffee with me. And that's really a joy as well. So often I meet with students individually, also do that in a variety of group settings. Sometimes it's kind of a Bible study. This year I did a really fun kind of just intro to Christianity group, which is really just a great way to explore kind of the basics of the Christian faith. And then I'm also too, I love what the students talk about. I think part of my job is also connecting students in all sorts of ways, connecting them to worship, connecting them to a local church, connecting them to a mentor, telling them about opportunities like Delight or other things, because students often don't know about that and want other sort of Christian fellowship. And so how can I just connect them to different ways that they can just grow in faith at Hope? So
that's great. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, well, I know this sounds crazy. I believe that I have one of the coolest gigs in the world. I get to watch sports and hang out with athletes as a job. Like, that's like,
amen.
So cool. So Hope Athletics is like one of the tops in Division III around the country, and there's over 600 athletes and coaches. And my job is to just be a pastor to them. And so I go to practices, I go to games, I meet with coaches, I meet with athletes, hear about their lives, hear about their stories. I make no assumptions kind of where people are at. I just am so thankful just to hear their story. And as Trig was saying, like everything is spiritual. Like I just believe that people need to be met where they're at. And so I love meeting athletes, and athletes, if you meet them, they're a different breed. And so they are so focused on campus. They have to balance both athletics and academics, as well as working sometimes, figuring out their vocation. And so what an awesome opportunity. And there's a lot of needs. When an injury comes up, I'll meet with someone who's just been injured, and pray with them. Or when someone's trying to discern whether they should still play or not, I'll sit down and have a conversation with them. Or when our women are going for a national championship, I'll be in the front row with a bunch of football players cheering and going crazy. So it's just a wonderful job just to be here and just to kind of practice this concept called the ministry of presence, just being where people are and welcoming them in for a conversation about who God is and what he's all about.
So true. Jill, what about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I echo both Jennifer and Matt. Like, just it's a privilege to be able to sit with and meet with college students and love them and get to know them. And that's really kind of the heartbeat of our ministry. That's, as you heard the students talk about, that's where we thrive. That's where we get most excited, is getting to know their real stories and their real lives and care about them, walk with them wherever they are. And so I get to do that. And then also in the context of helping to train leaders and meeting with them weekly to train them and go deep in scripture so that then they can offer Bible studies all across campus, all different days and nights and times of the week. And it's a beautiful thing. Really, our goals there, Trig kind of mentioned it, is we want students to know and love God. And we want them to learn to study and apply the Bible and know scripture and love it, like really, really love it and start to live it out. So, and then our other big goal would be to encourage one another in community, because we're not meant to do this alone. And we need each other, and we need to be able to have a space to talk about hard things and share about what kind of, I mean, I think Anna was saying too, just like being able to be vulnerable and have a safe place to ask hard questions and wonder about what faith really looks like in college and beyond. So it's a privilege. It's a cool thing.
Well, and I think we're so fortunate. I said this before, but there's a lot of things that are changed circumstances now with COVID-19, how that has brought out some of the most amazing moments on our campus, and well, not literally on our campus, but you know what I mean. And so I'm so thankful that each of you have joined us tonight too, for those students who are watching, that are incoming freshmen or still considering that they have a familiar face now in front of them, and someone that maybe if they get your card at orientation won't be so intimidated to go to coffee with you or less intimidated. With respect to time, I think we're going to bring everybody back now, our students and Trigby, so that we can start some question and answer time as some of those roll in. As we build up some of our questions coming in, I can certainly start to. I just want to wait for everyone to come back. All right, so I'm going to get us started, because I have and not everyone has to share if you don't want to, but as we're waiting for questions to come in, I love hearing about memories. I think they're so powerful. And as you think about this past year, and I really want to concentrate just on this past year, whether it was first semester or in the last 2 weeks, what is one memory from your walk this year, either with students or as a student with Campus Ministries, that's been really impactful?
I can go. Sorry, Trig, were you gonna go? Okay. Okay, perfect. So the memory for me that comes to mind was probably the night before classes start. And we have something, worship or Campus Ministries worship team puts on an event called Groovin' in the Grove. And so usually it's a big worship concert that each of our teams put on the night before classes start in the Pine Grove. So it's an outdoor concert. About like 1,000 people will come out, which is awesome. And this year, sadly, we had to move it into Dimnit, our chapel, because it rained, but it was still such a cool experience. But not only was putting on our set with my team was incredible, but the thing that actually stood out to me most was standing in the crowd, watching the other teams, and just, I was kind of off to the side and was looking up at, I don't know which team it was specifically, but one of the other teams, but then looked out into all of the audience. And just the power of Christ that was in that room, and seeing everybody praising God and singing together in one voice. Like, I have goosebumps thinking about it. Truthfully could cry. It was just such an incredible thing. But the just the fact that we get to come together and not only do that the night before classes, but do that 3 times a week and once on the weekends, has truly been one of the most memorable things. When I think of Dimnit, I think of it being standing room only, as it usually is for chapel, and everybody singing together in one voice to praise our God, has truly just been one of the most meaningful things. But something about Groovin' in the Grove, or we jokingly called it Dancing in Dimnit, since it was moved, but just something about that night and the energy in the room, and thinking, wow, I get to start my school year with this kind of experience, was something so unique and something that Hope provides, which is an awesome thing.
Trygve, do you want to take it away next?
Yeah, I'll echo that. There is pinpoint one moment. I can think of the chapels, the people I work with. Some of them you met, Matt and Jennifer and Jill, the students, Anna, Jared, Liv. It bleeds together a lot. And I'd also just point you, if you're interested in like some of our chapels, some remote ones we've done on our website, check that out. We had what's called a senior witness, where we take 6 seniors, and we had one of our best this just go up today. So check that out. But one of my memories actually happened last night. I was on a call like this, not quite like this, because I could see everyone else, with about 15 senior men who all year long have been in a Bible study together. And these men have like traveled through their college career together, and some of them are about ready to launch into jobs. Some of them are going to grad school. Some of them are engaged. Some of them are not. Some of them are fine with that. Some of them want to be. But we spent 2 hours on a Zoom call where they just had questions they wanted to know about life, and they asked me to prepare like a little message for them specifically. And the memory for me is looking at all of these men that I've had an opportunity to walk with for 4 years, and to know some of their like real struggles in life, and to see how they have matured. If anyone is ever despairing about the future, I want them to meet my Hope College students. They're amazing people. And it was a reminder to me of just how special what God does here. A ministry isn't about a program. It's about what God's doing in the lives of people. It was also just memorable. These were 15 men that were gathered around the Bible. They were taking this seriously. They were all really asking important questions. And so we are very, very committed to scripture at Hope College in our ministry. I try to preach with things memorize the scripture in me. I memorize the NRSV version. But the goal isn't to know more about scripture. The goal is to be more. And when I was with these men, I could see how God has just grown them, not only in their faith, but as people and their character. And I was so proud just to have this season with them. And it made me really sad, because I don't get, in normal time, this would be our last week of classes. And there's just special things that happen this week that we don't get to do this week. And so my heart is really, really sad. And at the same time, I'm really, really proud. But that memory last night kind of just represented to me some of the best of Hope.
That's great, Trig. So we got a couple of questions that came in. One about mission trips in our term immersion trips, and then also Jared, one specifically for you about how to get involved in Young Life. So anyone that wants to take the question about immersion trips, and then Jared, if you want to pick up and talk about how specifically to get involved in Young Life.
So I can touch on immersion trips from what I know. I was signed up to go to Nashville on an immersion trip this year, but they have, obviously it was canceled due to COVID. But they have mission trips not only nationally but internationally, and so they'll send students over to Dominican Republic, blanking, but there's a lot of other ones. And then specifically mine was Nashville. I know that they had a California one. They even had one just locally, right in Holland for spring break. And these are pretty popular among students. It's not the typical college spring break that you'll hear about, but it's actually favored by so many by so many students to go on these mission trips. And so from what I know, from what I understand, unfortunately can't tell you from experience, but a lot of the work that we were going to do was to solely go down to Nashville without kind of a strict regimen of the work that we were going to be doing, and to just dive right into the homelessness community in Nashville, and to kind of reflect on that, and to build our faith, and to also use our faith to interact with them. And so unfortunately I don't have much other than that, but they are so incredible. They do so much for students, and I know that a lot of students actually come to faith just by getting on board with the mission trip. A lot of the times it's spread through other students or friends kind of saying, come along, let's go. It's going to be such a fun time. And it's so impactful and influential on a student's faith. So even though I have not been on one, plan to next year, but even though I haven't been on one, I would still highly recommend them, just from hearing about them and seeing the impactful change in students after going.
Absolutely.
I can say too, just quickly, that one of our chaplains, that's her main responsibility. Nancy Smith runs an amazing immersion trip program where her leaders are well trained and loved and bonded, and it just is, that's another huge opportunity that I feel like every Hope student should take that opportunity to go on one. It's a great experience.
And I will quick add, even though we didn't go on the trip, this group of students that I got to know, we still talk, we still hang out, we still do team dinners, which is just really neat, I think. So another way to get involved.
I was going to add, I was at Phelps Hall a couple months ago, probably with Nancy, and she was waving to a group across the way. And it was an immersion trip group from last year that still routinely, she's like, oh, they just love each other. So they routinely have lunch together all the time. And that's a really typical thing with the immersion trip. Not only is it an awesome opportunity to go and learn, it's an awesome opportunity to find brothers and sisters in Christ, and find just really real friendships and fellowships. So
It's such a special thing to be able to observe that on campus too. I know I've seen the same thing, and students that otherwise maybe would have never met on campus had it not been for their immersion trip. So thanks for adding that too, Jennifer. So we're going to close out with Jared talking about how to get involved specifically in Young Life. I just want to respect your time and our audience's time. So Jared, I'm going to let you take it away to answer that question. I know we have others that have come in. We will do our best to answer those offline.
Yeah, so getting involved with Young Life it's pretty easy. I remember doing it. I went to so you go to the activities fair, which is in the Pine Grove, the big green space in the middle of campus. And there's like over 100 tables set up with all these different clubs and organizations. And you walk up to the Young Life booth, you meet probably Chris Hoffland, who's the area director, or you might meet a Hope student too, who's a Young Life leader, and you write your email down, and then they send you information about how to get involved. You know, afterwards, you know, the process of training is a different story. But that's another really cool opportunity. I actually was super blessed to be able to lead a small group during that new leader training. And it's just, once again, it's talking through faith. It's talking through how to communicate that with all types of people. So yeah, pretty easy to get involved.
Pretty easy, yeah.
Very fruitful. Yeah.
And it all goes back to what Liv said before, is just saying yes, putting your name and your email down on that sheet and getting involved. So thank you so much to Jennifer and Jill and Matt and Anna and Liv and Jared and Trig. We so appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you for being the lights that you are on campus for our students, but also for our faculty and staff like me. We certainly love being able to worship with the community in chapel and at the gatherings. When my kids were younger, we couldn't go to the gathering because they were already in bed. But now they can stay up that late. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. To all of you out there who've been tuning in, we appreciate your time too. And again, we're so thankful that you've welcomed us into whatever space in your homes that you've welcomed us into. We are hosting our final Evening with Hope virtual event tomorrow night. Please absolutely come back and tune in to hear a bit more about the Phelps Scholars Program, both from staff and students who've been involved in it. It is an amazing program on campus for students to live and learn together in a diverse community. So we want you to be a part of tomorrow night too. I think the last piece that I just want to leave you with is that we know that whether you have fully committed yourself to being at Hope next year, or whether you're still making that decision, just know that all of us here, all of us at Hope, are praying for you and praying for that discernment process. So just know that you've got a community already behind you. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks to each of you. And this is as signing off. Have a great evening.